Senator Gutierrez, you're now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairwoman Jackson Lee, and members of the committee for this time. Ranking Member Biggs, I see her coming back in. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. May 24th was the worst law enforcement response to one of the worst school shootings in our nation's history. As policymakers, you and I have to grapple with how much loss of life is acceptable in relation to someone's freedom to obtain and carry a weapon that can inflict so much damage. I have to believe that we as lawmakers can solve this problem, because the alternative is just too evil to contemplate. This shooter waited until his 18th birthday to secure an AR-15 from the local gun shop. He was followed the next day by buying hundreds of rounds of ammunition at the same gun shop. And on the third day, he followed by picking up his internet-bought Daniels Defense AR-15 at the same gun shop. Nobody asked questions. Nobody called the sheriff. Nobody cared. On the 24th, he began his shooting spree. By shooting and wounding his grandmother, he proceeded to the school and killed 19 children and 2 teachers. Let me be clear. Police waited outside for 77 minutes while children lay dying, wounded, waiting for help that would not come. They were injured, huddled on the classroom floor. Children called the police as the gunman taunted them to see if they were dead or alive. Brave little girls called 911 while law enforcement waited outside just a few feet away. Not one law enforcement official took control inside or outside of that building. It is worth noting that this community asked the sitting governor of Texas directly and through the Department of Public Safety for money to fix the radio system years prior to this massacre. And it's the same radio system that the director of the Department of Public Safety acknowledged in a hearing in the Texas Senate needed replacing. The local law enforcement at any level, not city, not county, police, they never, ever took command and control. The state police never took command and control either, even though they had 91 of their Operation Lone Star troops on the ground, including Texas Rangers, who stood around and talked to their supervisors over the phone. Supervisors who did nothing, ordered no action. Law enforcement agents said over and over, DPS is coming. In turn, DPS waited on federal agents to breach the door to the classroom and try to end the suffering of the bleeding children. Without direction, law enforcement seemingly waited on each other to do nothing. 77 minutes later, a federal board tech team, exasperated by inaction, used a key to gain entry into the classroom to kill the gunman. 1 minute prior to the breach, DPS Captain Joel Betancourt issued a first radio order to the team that is about to breach, asking them to stand by. How much longer he wanted these kids to wait remains a mystery. At the end, kids were piled together in 2 heaps, in 2 classrooms. The teacher lay shielding several children as best she could. She and the children were all dead. Children and bodies were dragged out into a hallway where, again, officers jammed the hallway, seemingly watching the few that were actually trying to administer aid to the remaining children that made it out alive. Child was dragged out of the hallway. Her face was gone. Hallways and classrooms had blood like no horror movie you've ever seen. Off camera, you could hear grown men throwing up from the side of the horror, or perhaps the failure that they had caused. 13 injured children survived. 3 others and 1 teacher were taken out alive but died on their way to the hospital, and they bled out in that golden hour. As troopers tended to their injuries, a brave little red-headed girl, Chloe Torres, said to one trooper, "I called the police. Did you get my calls? Was it you I was talking to?" She said to the female trooper. She cried and she asked for her friend, the same friend, Marie Garza, who had covered her body, who had shielded her, Chloe's body. The friend who had saved her life. She cried, "She's gone, isn't she? I know she's gone." Chloe was on a bus because they couldn't get ambulances into the school, so they took 4 kids on a bus, and she was riddled and covered in blood. In the aftermath, police pointed fingers at different agencies. We were led to believe that this was one incompetent school cop, then led to believe it was an incompetent Uvalde police cop, then led to believe that it was a few officers from DPS and their incompetence. There is no transparency and no accountability to date. My question to the leaders of this country is how many children have to be murdered before they are willing to ban the chosen weapon of these school shooters? How many people have to be killed before we take reasonable steps to end murder? Thank you, Madam Chair.